My video got cut off there, sorry. That's not the way people work, and it's not the way people think, and it's not the way they would think. See, social pressures have always been far stronger to any governmental pressures, which is why the Jim Crow were implemented. These people rose up, organized, spoke out, and got things changed. Okay, but you're talking about a social movement and a youth revolution, not an overthrowing of the government. Here's what would have happened if the African American youth had responded to the Jim Crow laws by doing away completely, by some magic, the United States government. They would not have any rights, because the majority was still white people. They would not be able to vote, because there would be no voting systems, there would be no elections, there would be no stable form of government of any kind to give them any rights. Alright, I do think the government should give everyone equal rights. Obviously, that's something I support. However, I don't think you're going to be able to get equal rights without a government, because the government provides those rights. So it's our job as citizens in a democracy to demand those rights of the government, i.e. gay marriage, but to overthrow the government is just to abuse the privilege of freedom that they've provided us. And I do think the government provides us with freedom, and I think if you're saying otherwise, you're just kidding yourself for the sake of idealizing the situation and having something to march for in a day when really the youth is allowed to enact change, and I think too many people can't accept that. So, let's see, let's go on. In a similar way, I think society could move toward a non-violent way of living. Anarchy, those are not the same thing, if given the right direction. Now, by the right direction, you mean, what, like slowly introducing an overthrow of the government? Or, like, you know, fading the government out over a period of years? Because you know who's not going to let that happen is the government. Only problem with your plan there is that the government does exist, and so they're not going to just let you overthrow you for the good of the people, which I trust them to do. Slavery once was accepted as normal. Yeah, okay, slavery. For those slaves, we're not free in any way, and in a similar way, the government is and will, by nature of being government, restrict our freedoms. Not true. There are, I don't know if you've ever studied ethical rights theory, but there are positive rights and negative rights, and positive rights say, you have the power to do this. So it's like by the rights giver, by the government who gives us what rights we have, they would say, you have the right to walk down the street. Alright, pretty basic right? But they don't do that. And you know why? Because the government gives us negative rights. And they give negative rights to the people who would abuse the rights of normal people. So they say, you're not allowed to kill anyone. Therefore, I can do... If that was the only right in existence, I could do whatever I want besides killing someone. They say you're not allowed to kill someone, you're not allowed to rob someone. And all these you're not allowed to's are basic what your mom would tell you in preschool you're not allowed to do bad people things that are necessary for the good and welfare of the people. So, as someone, you and me both, who love our rights, the government tells people you can't run a red light. And you know what? When I'm on my bike, or when I'm walking, and I cross the street at a red light, you know what? I feel safe. Because I trust people to obey the laws that the government has provided for them. And without those laws, I think that more people would be dying, that the world would be a worse place, and I would not want to live here. So, I don't think that you can say that government is oppressing our freedom. I think that there are governments that do oppress the freedom of their members, but I don't think the United States is one of them. I think if there's a right that you don't have, that you feel you should have, you can bring that to the table, and if enough people think that they should have that right too, then by God, it's going to get enacted. Alright, that's America, and that's what happens. So, I mean, you can't deny that. However, if we as a society realize this, and it becomes ingrained in our social consciousness that government and violence, two completely different things. I have to say, the government is not beating you, the government is not shooting you, or not killing you, or anything. So, you can't just lump them together like that. That's a false generalization. Move past the need for government, just as we move past the need for slavery. You know how we got past the need for slavery? Our president, who was democratically elected, signed an order, which it says in the Constitution he's allowed to do, which bans slavery. So, I mean, without a government, without government regulation, because in the South they had very little government regulation during the Civil War. Without government regulation, they could abuse slaves, they could kill them, they could do whatever the hell they want. And then the government stepped in and they said no, because enough people thought that black people should have the right to their own freedom, and they enacted that freedom, and they got change done. And without a government, that change would not have been possible. When the people wake up to the truth that they are free, okay, I believe I'm free, then the chains of government will fall to dust and freedom will ring. I'm really sorry that I'm going to pick apart your diction and your syntax, but that sentence is very idealistic. It's very foo-foo and out there, and I think if you were at a rally of uneducated anarchists who really didn't know what they want but went there because they wear army boots and their other friend wears army boots and their other friend has a patch that has an A on it, so they figured they'd go. If you go to one of those meetings and yell that and you're like pumping your fist and slamming your fist on a lectern or whatever, then yeah, people will probably cheer for you and listen to you, but at the end of the day, it's not a smart thing to do, overthrowing the government. And that sentence doesn't make any sense because the chains of government you're talking are actually protections for you from abusers, right? And I'm talking about abusers as, you might call them morally bad people. Now these bad people have no power right now. These are bad people who would kill people, they would rob people, they would, do whatever they wanted to. They'd rape women just for the sake of it. These people can't do what they want to do, which is good because they want to do bad things. If you want to do good things, the government will let you do good things. If you want to do bad things, the government will not let you do bad things. If you're doing what you think is a good thing, but the government thinks it's a bad thing, then you get enough people to tell the government, hey, this is a good thing, and then the government says, okay, that's a good thing, and lets it be a good thing. That's public vote. Things like gay marriage, which is one of the few remaining humanitarian issues domestically, that is simply a matter of majority. It's simply a matter of the people wanting that to be enacted. Yes, it's a matter of opinion, it's a matter of morality, and it could be based on your religion or whatever, but when they march on Washington for gay rights, I'll be there. When they put it to a vote as to whether or not gays can get married and have equal rights, I will be there and I will vote and I will say yes. But I'm not about to overthrow the government, because the government is the only protection that minorities have. Okay? I mean, minorities hate each other, and the majority obviously oppresses the minority. So if the majority all of a sudden has all the power, which they don't in a government, because the government does have specific laws that will protect minorities, i.e. you can't kill someone just for being gay, okay, it's a fine example there. So if we didn't have a government, then those minorities would not be protected by those laws, and therefore the majority of people who think gays are morally wrong, evil people, would just kill them, because that's what they could do and get away with it. Okay, great, I like this discussion. Unfortunately, I can't video respond back because I'm at work, but that sounds good. Okay, well then, that's the end of my video. I have been on and off an anarchist throughout this past couple of years. I stopped being an anarchist when I saw the effects of anarchy, and I do believe that if we want change in this country, we can enact change. We just have to know how, and we just have to be willing to put in the effort. And I think if the government was overthrown, which I think a violent overthrow is the only way a government will ever be overthrown, then I completely lost my train of thought, wow. But, okay, basically, when George Washington handed over the presidency to John Adams, first to second president of the United States, that was the first peaceful transition of power this nation has ever seen. Since then, all transitions of power have been peaceful. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Whig, Tory, whatever, it was all peaceful. It was all, okay, here you go. Civil War, not so much, but that was a different country. That, that was over a moral issue of slavery, which the government responded to. So, I think that, it's not up to the people to take control of the people. It's up to the people to take control of the government. and I think we have control of the government. I think there are things we feel out of control on, but I think whenever those situations arise where we feel out of control on something we need to control, we can seize control, democratically, peacefully, and I don't think anarchy is the way to do that, and I won't.